All right, let's dive in. This time we're taking a look at Thelema.
Yeah, a really fascinating system.
I'm excited about this one. We've got excerpts from the Black Pearl to guide us.
Right, the Journal from the College of Thelema. It's a great way to get into the philosophy of Aleister Crowley.
Okay, so Thelema. For someone just tuning in, what's the core idea?
Well, you probably know that famous phrase, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Right, I've heard that, but it always seemed a bit, I don't know, like anything goes kind of thing.
Yeah, it's easy to misunderstand. It's not about just doing whatever you feel like. It's about aligning yourself with your true will, like your true purpose.
So there's more depth to it than meets the eye.
Definitely. And the journal gets into some pretty interesting concepts like the cabs. It's like a star that represents a person's unique being.
Okay, their own personal star. So how does that play into this whole true will thing?
Well, they talk about the universe being full of like infinite possibilities. And our habs interact with those possibilities, shaping who we are and guiding us toward, our true will.
So it's not predestined. It's more like we're actively shaping our path.
Exactly. It's like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. Thelema emphasizes that understanding your strengths and weaknesses is super important for making choices that align with your true will, like a compass and a map.
Makes sense. You need to know yourself and the terrain to navigate. So how does this all play out in their daily lives?
Well, they even have their own calendar system. Like the journal refers to 1997 as the 93rd year of the equinox of the gods.
Whoa, hold on. Their own calendar. Is that common?
It shows how deep the system goes, how it shapes their worldview. And speaking of numbers, 93 pops up a lot in Thelema.
Okay, 93. What's the big deal with that?
It represents both Thelema and agape in Greek, which means love, using something called gematria. Basically, it's where you assign numbers to letters.
I've always been fascinated by those hidden connections you find in gematria. What else do they say about this number?
Well, there's an interesting connection between 93 and the sun.
Wait, really? What's the connection?
The sun is about 93 million miles from Earth, and the journal quotes Crowley saying that Thelema is all about forming a new link with the solar force.
So the sun's energy is somehow woven into their beliefs.
It seems that way, and get this. They even analyze the Hebrew letters associated with 93 and their corresponding tarot cards.
Okay, this is getting complex. Which tarot cards are we talking about?
The Emperor, which is about willpower, and the Priestess, which is about intuition and hidden knowledge. It's like a balance of forces.
Wow, so much packed into that one number, 93. Okay, so besides these core ideas, what about the practices in Thelema?
Well, they talk about this text called Liber Libre as a guide for like moral guidance, and there's a Golden Dawn version of it too.
Hold on, the Golden Dawn. I thought Thelema was its own separate thing.
It does draw on other traditions, pulling together things from like Kabbalah, tarot, even yoga. It's like a blend of wisdom.
So it's more about integrating different ideas rather than being completely isolated.
Exactly. And Liber Libre is a good example. The Black Pearl editors actually got hold of the original Golden Dawn version, which had never been published before.
Really? That's a find. So are the two versions the same or are they different?
They're pretty similar in what they say. Both talk about being balanced, persevering, being humble, and not judging others.
So even with different roots, they share some ethical common ground.
It's interesting, right, how some of these ideas transcend specific systems.
Yeah, it makes you wonder about the, universal truths that might be at play.
Definitely. And they both give some practical advice, too. Both
Wow.
versions, warn against being too full of yourself and thinking you're better than others.
That's good advice in any system.
And they both stress doing good things without expecting something in return.
Selfless action. That's a powerful concept.
It is, and it's something that resonates across so many different beliefs. Liber Libre, in both its forms, seems to be all about navigating life's choices and growing as a person.
This is really giving me a better picture of Thelema's ethics. It's not just about do what thou wilt in a selfish way, but about aligning your choices with something deeper.
It's about understanding that true freedom comes with responsibility to yourself and to those around you.
It's more nuanced than I thought. Thelema is about more than just individual expression. It's about finding that harmony between personal will and the greater good.
You got it. And realizing that we're all part of something bigger. Our choices have an impact not just on us, but on the world.
That's a profound thought, realizing how interconnected we are. So how does Thelema approach directing all that personal energy we have?
That's where this formula NOx comes in. Remember, we touched on this earlier.
Oh, right. NOx. It's about purifying and perfecting that raw creative Mars force, right?
Yeah, and Black Pearl goes deep into it.
Okay, I'm ready for the deep dive. What do they say about it?
Well, they go through it letter by letter, really unpacking the symbolism.
I like that, kind of like a mystical equation.
Exactly. They start with the letter N and connect it to the Hebrew letter Nun and the tarot card Death.
Oh, death. That sounds a bit intense.
Don't worry, it's not meant literally. They see it as a symbol of transformation, like shedding old patterns.
So it's like a symbolic death and rebirth.
Yeah, exactly. They say this N represents that raw, instinctual energy that we need to refine and, learn to direct.
Kind of like a raw gemstone, full of potential, but needing to be shaped.
Great analogy. Then they move on to the letter O, which they connect to the Hebrew letter N and the tarot card, the Devil.
Whoa, the devil. Is this getting a bit dark?
Not necessarily. In Thelema, these symbols represent different forces within us, forces that we need to understand and integrate.
Okay, so what does the devil represent in this context?
They see it as that untamed creative force, the energy that can be destructive or life-giving depending on how it's used.
So it's not about suppressing it, but about learning to control it.
Yeah, finding that balance. And then we come to the letter X, which is connected to the Hebrew letter Tzadi and the tarot card, the Emperor.
The emperor, okay, that feels more stable than the last two.
Right. The Emperor is all about controlled willpower, the ability to take that raw energy and direct it.
Like a master craftsman shaping that energy into something powerful.
Exactly. The Emperor represents mastering yourself, using your will to achieve your true will.
This NOx formula is pretty cool, like a guide to personal transformation.
Yeah, it reminds us that we all have this incredible power inside, but we need to learn to harness it and use it wisely.
This is really making me rethink Thelema. It's not just philosophy, it's like a practical system for self-discovery and empowerment.
It's about engaging with the universe, taking responsibility for your life and your impact. It's pretty powerful stuff.
This has been a deep dive indeed. We've only just begun to explore what Black Pearl has to offer. There's still so much more to uncover.
Absolutely. There's the whole thing about meditation and Thelema, and of course we have to get into Crowley's mystical visions.
I'm definitely ready for more. Those visions sound particularly fascinating. But let's save that for next time.
Sounds good. Let's take a break and come back to explore those uncharted territories. You know that Soror Merrill, she had some really insightful stuff in Black Pearl about navigating choice within Thelema.
Oh, yeah, I remember her. What was it about again?
Well, she picks up on the infinite possibilities idea, how everyone carves their own path.
Right. Infinite possibilities. It's a mind-blowing concept.
She compares it to, we're all artists, creating our lives with these different choices we make.
So we're not just along for the ride, we're actively shaping things.
Exactly. But here's the thing. She cautions against, trying to force one person's idea of what's right onto everyone else.
No, that makes sense. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, different paths to follow.
And Thelema really pushes back against that one-size-fits-all approach, Soror Merrill says it's about discovering your own strengths and weaknesses, not conforming to someone else's idea of right and wrong.
It reminds me of that Crowley quote. The method of Thelema is science. The aim of Thelema is religion. It's about experimenting and figuring things out for yourself.
Yeah, finding your own truth. That's where those infinite possibilities come in. It's not about one right answer. It's about exploring all those paths and choosing the one that feels, authentic to you.
But with so many possibilities, how do we even begin to navigate all that without feeling overwhelmed?
Well, Soror Merrill acknowledges that it's not always easy. She says sometimes life throws us curveballs, like wallops, she calls them, to shake things up and force us to confront those things that are holding us back.
So those challenges, those wallops, they're actually opportunities for growth.
Exactly. They can push us to reevaluate our choices and make sure we're really on the right track, aligned with our true will.
I'm starting to see how do what thou wilt isn't just about doing whatever you want, but about really understanding yourself and what you're meant for.
It's about finding that balance between freedom and responsibility, embracing the journey and all its ups and downs. Soror Merrill's take on it is really insightful.
I like how Black Pearl gets into this practical side of Thelema. It's not just theory, it's about how these ideas play out in real life.
Speaking of practical stuff, remember Liber Librae? Well, Black Pearl digs into its connection to the Golden Dawn.
Oh yeah, Uncovering that original Golden Dawn version was quite a discovery. What more can you tell me about it?
Well, the Golden Dawn version has this long title on the general guidance and purification of the soul, but it's surprisingly similar to the Thelemic version in what it actually says.
So even though they come from different traditions, they share a similar ethical core.
Yeah, both emphasize those principles we talked about. Balance, perseverance, humility, not judging others.
It's like there are these universal truths that show up in different forms across various systems.
It makes you think, right? Like there's something deeper connecting us all. And both versions give specific advice on how to cultivate those qualities in your life.
Like what kind of advice?
For instance, they both caution against being vain and self-righteous, thinking you're better than others. It's all about recognizing your own limitations.
It's a good reminder, especially in today's world, where comparison is so easy.
And both versions stress the importance of doing good without expecting anything in return, acting from a place of compassion, not seeking personal gain.
Those are powerful principles, putting the focus on selfless action.
It's about aligning your actions with your highest ideals, living a more meaningful life.
This exploration of Liber Libre is really adding to my understanding of Thelema's ethics. It's not just about doing what thou wilt in a reckless way, but about making choices that reflect a deeper purpose.
It's about recognizing that true freedom comes with responsibility, not just to yourself, but to everyone around you.
Thelema is a lot more nuanced than I realized. It's about finding that harmony between personal will and the greater good.
Exactly. We're all connected. Our choices affect not only us, but the whole web of existence.
It's a humbling thought, knowing that our actions have ripple effects. So how does Thelema deal with harnessing that personal energy we have?
That's where that thelemic formula NOx comes in. Remember we talked about it earlier?
Right. NOx, it's all about purifying and perfecting that raw, creative Mars force within us.
Yeah, and Black Pearl goes really deep into it.
Okay, I'm ready to dive in. What do they say about it?
Well, the writers, they break it down letter by letter, like revealing all this hidden symbolism within the formula.
It's like deciphering a mystical code.
Exactly. They start with the letter N and connect it to the Hebrew letter Nun, and the tarot card, Death.
Death, that sounds a little ominous.
It's not meant to be taken literally. They see it as representing transformation, like shedding old patterns that no longer serve us.
Okay, so it's more like a symbolic death and rebirth.
Right. They explain that this N represents the most basic form of the Mars force, that raw, instinctual energy that we all have.
I can see that, like unrefined potential that needs to be shaped and directed.
Then they move on to the letter O, which they link to the Hebrew letter Ayin. And, get this, the tarot card, the Devil.
The Devil. Is this where things take a dark turn?
Not really. In Thelema, these symbols represent different aspects of our being, forces that we need to understand and work with.
Okay, so what does the Devil symbolize in this context?
They interpret it as like that untamed creative energy, the kind that can be both destructive and life-giving.
So it's about finding a way to channel that raw power, not suppressing it or letting it run wild.
Exactly. It's that balance between control and surrender, mastering our instincts without losing touch with their power.
I like how Thelema embraces the full spectrum of human experience, both the light and the shadow. It's about integrating those seemingly opposing forces.
And that brings us to the letter X, which they connect to the Hebrew letter Tzadi, and this time the tarot card, the Emperor.
The Emperor? Okay, that feels a bit more grounded after the last two.
Right. The Emperor is all about willpower, the ability to direct that raw energy into purposeful action. It's like the culmination of the process.
So it's like the Emperor takes that raw material and shapes it into something powerful and refined.
Yeah, it's about mastering yourself and using your will to manifest your true will. The Emperor represents that.
This whole NOx formula is fascinating. It's like a map for personal transformation.
It's a good reminder that we all have immense power within us, but it's up to us to develop it and use it wisely.
It's amazing how Thelema blends these philosophical ideas with practical tools for growth and empowerment.
It's about actively engaging with life, taking responsibility for our choices, and realizing the impact we have.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've gone from core principles to ethical frameworks to formulas for personal power.
We've barely scratched the surface of what Black Pearl has to offer. There's still so much to explore.
Absolutely. And I'm ready for more. I'm especially curious about what they have to say about meditation in Thelema.
Oh yeah, they've got some great insights on that. And of course, we can't forget about Crowley's mystical visions.
Those visions sound like uncharted territory. I'm eager to see what Black Pearl reveals about them.
Let's dive into those next. Prepare to be amazed by what we uncover.
All right, let's jump back into Black Pearl. I'm ready to see what else they have to say about the lemma.
There's a lot more to unpack, you know. They even get into practical advice about meditation.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. They're talking about, like, starting small and not being too hard on yourself.
It's a really down-to-earth approach, especially considering all the esoteric stuff we've been talking about.
Exactly. It's like they get that meditation isn't always easy, you know?
They say those distractions you get, they're not failures. They're actually chances to bring your focus back, like opportunities.
I like that reframing. It makes it feel less intimidating, more approachable.
They emphasize consistency, even if it's just a few minutes each day, making it a part of your routine.
So it's not about escaping life, but integrating these moments of stillness into it.
Right, and that ties back to that philemic idea of balance, you know, finding that harmony between seemingly opposite things.
Makes sense. They even compare meditation to learning any skill, like you need patience and practice.
It's a gradual process. You don't become an expert overnight.
That's reassuring, takes the pressure off a bit.
And it connects back to those thelemic principles of self-knowledge and acceptance, finding what works for you.
It's about the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly. Okay, ready to shift gears a bit. We can't talk about thelema without discussing Crowley's mystical visions.
Oh yeah, those aethers, they sounded pretty out there. What were those? Yeah, different dimensions or something?
You could think of them as like different levels of consciousness, each one with its own unique challenges and insights.
So Crowley was mapping out these different realms of the mind.
Basically, and Black Pearl helps us understand the symbolism he encountered.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. What kind of stuff did he see in these realms?
Well, starting with the 30th Aether, the one closest to our physical world, Crowley describes being inside a crystal cube surrounded by 4 archangels.
A crystal cube and archangels. Sounds intense. What else happens?
He finds this book with messages about judgment and the search for a new spouse.
Judgment and a new spouse. Is this like a cosmic marriage court or something?
The Black Pearl writers say it's more symbolic. This Aether represents a kind of initiation, you know, shedding old beliefs to make way for a new understanding.
Ah, so it's more about personal transformation than like a literal judgment day.
And that search for a new spouse, they suggest it could be about the soul's desire to connect with the divine.
I see. It's all about those deeper meanings. So what about the other aethers?
Well, in the 29th, Crowley sees these powerful images: an eagle, a lion, a bull, and a man on a horse.
Wait, those sound familiar. Aren't those like from the Bible? The 4 living creatures or something?
They show up in lots of different traditions. Black Pearl points out that they represent the 4 elements: air, fire, water, and earth.
Ah, so Crowley's encountering those fundamental forces of creation.
And then this whirlpool appears, like it's swallowing up the old universe.
Hold on, is this the end of the world?
It's all symbolic. They interpret it as the transformative power of the ethers, breaking down old structures to create something new.
So again, it's about personal change, not a literal apocalypse.
It's about letting go of those outdated ideas to make space for a new understanding of reality.
I'm noticing a theme here. Each aether seems to present a different challenge on the path to self-discovery.
And Black Pearl points out that even Crowley struggled with these challenges. He questioned what he was seeing, you know, wrestled with those forces he encountered.
So even a seasoned mystic like Crowley had his doubts. That's kind of reassuring, actually.
It's good to remember that the path to, like, enlightenment isn't always smooth sailing.
It makes those mystical realms feel a bit more, I don't know, human.
And each ether corresponds to a sephira on the Kabbalistic tree of life, so you can use that system to understand them better.
The tree of life. That's like a map of existence.
Yeah.
Right. It's fascinating how Crowley connected his personal journey to this larger cosmic framework.
And he used a whole bunch of systems to interpret what he was seeing. Astrology, Kabbalah, geomancy, even Enochian magic.
Wow, he was pulling from all over the place. It's like he was trying to create a new language for these experiences.
And get this, Black Pearl even points out a few places where Crowley might have gotten some of his attributions mixed up.
So even Crowley mode mistakes. That's humanizing.
It shows that even in the pursuit of, like, ultimate knowledge, there's room for interpretation and reevaluation.
This deep dive has been mind-blowing. We've explored the core of Thelema, its practices, even those mind-bending visions of Crowley.
We've uncovered hidden meanings, decoded symbols, hopefully sparked some curiosity in you.
I'm definitely walking away with a new appreciation for Thelema. It's more than just a set of beliefs. It's an invitation to engage with the universe in a whole new way.
It's about asking questions, seeking out your own truth, and embracing those infinite possibilities.
Well said. This deep dive has definitely left me with more to ponder, but that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
It sparked a desire to keep exploring.
That's what it's all about. Remember, the journey of self-discovery never really ends. Keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep growing.
Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey into Thelema. Until next time.
Take care and keep exploring like a sus.